All right, KarQ Archives Nation.
How are we feeling?
Took a little break from making Overwatch content because I'm gonna keep it a buck. I was a little bored of Overwatch. Definitely still on the Marvel Rivals grind. I have a separate channel that I've been, making videos on that as well. But thought I'd come back today to cover the Overwatch 2 mid-season 14 patch because I have some things to say about it. If nothing is as big as like the season 9 like PvP shakeup like it was last year, which next season is season 15, right? Which will mark the 1 year mark after they made all the HP pools and all the projectile sizes bigger. Like since that changed, that season I actually grinded a lot of ranked, but I have not touched ranked this season. I think I played one game like 3 weeks ago and that's it. But let's see what they have in this patch. First of all, it's the Year of the Snake seasonal event. Lunar New Year, Year of the Snake. Any snakes in the chat? All of you guys should raise your hands. I'm a cock. In Overwatch 2, with the return of Mischief and Magic, which is the prop hunt one, right? Blend strategy, stealth, and skill along with Bounty Hunter and Capture the Flag. Complete challenges unlock exclusive rewards including Lunar New Year themed cosmetics that capture the joy and vibrancy of the season. Don't miss your chance to outwit, outplay, and outlast your opponents. Obviously not very hard to just turn on the switch to put this mode back in. I think prop hunt is super fun first few times you play it, but like even if you've never played it, definitely try it out. But if you have played it, I have no interest in playing it again because all the good spots are pretty much known. If you played this mode last year, you know exactly where to hide, where to like swap to the freaking like small little item and go off the map and stick there. People know where to look and it kind of loses the novelty. And I'm gonna be honest, it kind of sucks playing this on stream because you get sniped all the time and they'll just look at where you are, which is not fun. But if you never played it, try this out. I would say this is kind of fun. Valentine's Day 2025, take aim and fall in love again with the return of Love of Geometry game mode. Deathmatch Brawl pits. This deathmatch Brawl pits teams of 4 Cupid Hanzos against each other with scatter arrows, which isn't actually running right now. It's going to be from February 4th to 18th. This is probably the biggest thing that I'm curious about, and which is what I want to focus more of the rest of the season on, because 5v5 doesn't really do it for me at this point. Listen, I'm not like pro 5v5 or super pro 6v6. I'm pro anything that's feels fun for me at this current moment. Maybe I'm just a little bored of 5v5. Doesn't mean I'm like, I don't like 5v5. I'm just a little bored of it now. And Rivals reminded me of what it's like to have that rediscovery phase of like figuring things out. Playing 6v6 now, even though it's old, like it's an old version of the game, but it's like with a small little twist to make me want to try and experiment with the minimum 1 max 3. Like 1 tank, 3 DPS, 2 supports, which we try in Rivals, or like the 2 tanks, 1 DPS, 3 supports, which we tried in Rivals recently, or I played it, 6 or 7 years ago with modern heroes and everything. Could be interesting. So here, step back into Overwatch's origins even more with a fresh twist on the beloved 6-player team format. Minimum 1 max 3 is a unique experiment mode that blends nostalgia with modern gameplay dynamics, offering a structured composition along with the flexibility to switch roles mid-match. Your participation with this experiment will help shape the future of Overwatch 2's gameplay, so don't miss your chance to leave your mark. This is telling me they want to implement this if people like it. Heroes are selected first come, first serve. Each team must have at least 1 hero from all 3 roles, cannot have more than 3, so minimum 1, max 3, obviously. Players can switch roles while in the spawn room. Hero balance for this will use the same balance from the 6v6 2-2-2 role queue experiment. The game mode's available to play unranked from January 21st to February 3rd. So today for about 2 weeks. I'm gonna say something about the last 6v6 2-2-2 role queue mode. I played it a lot, actually. I played Overwatch basically at the beginning of the season, and then once I got over like my 10-15 hours of playing it, I went to Rivals. I will say I did have a good time playing it, and they probably didn't have enough time to do any sort of major hero balances. The point of the mode wasn't for like complete balance, but it was more to kind of test the waters and if people would like 6v6 back. And I'm just gonna say it, I think the game needs to have this game mode coexist with 5v5, and it needs to have a ranked mode. That's what would get me back into the game. Something to grind for, something meaningful, and having a proper leaderboard with the changed system would be pretty important. I know I'm yapping a lot about Rivals and comparing them. There's a lot of pros and cons, but I think Blizzard can take some things away from what Rivals has done right recently, because I've obviously been enjoying that. Number 1, hero bans, especially if they have the 6v6 mode coming back. Hero bans is a way to kind of like self-regulate problematic heroes, and I do think if you have that and make the leaderboard a bit more meaningful and have 2 modes to grind, it could increase player retention. Like I can log in today and just grind 6v6, but I go on a losing streak and then I'll switch to the 5v5 ladder and play that as well, because I don't mind 5v5, but sometimes having 2 things to kind of work for would be good. The queue times may be a little high at first because of the player split population, but if it's good, like the players will also figure out what they enjoy more and gravitate towards one or the other. Number 2, I know that they weren't focusing too much on balance. They just wanted to like kind of like get a sense of how this is. If you're serious about this, like after this 2-week experiment, if they add it back, they really, A, hero bans, and B, they really need to nail this balance. because there are some things that are just really annoying and problematic about the 6v6 mode with some of the things they tweak. Like number one, some of the quality of life changes for some of the heroes over the years. You can keep that. Not everything has to revert back to old 6v6. Like Reinhardt's steering being more clunkier than in this mode feels kind of bad. Like you want things to still feel good and then tweak other things to kind of offset the strength of losing the steering, for example. Number two, like things like the roll, like the HP is just an artificial global rule they added where it's like minus 150 HP for all the tanks, which obviously is disproportional when you have a Drunken Queen going from 525 to 375, but then you have an 800 HP Mauga go down to 650. Like one's worth more than the other. So they really need to tweak each thing individually as best as they can. It's a lot. It's 45. It's like, what do we have? 45, 43 heroes or whatever at this point. But if you're serious about this mode coexisting, you should do it. And you can. I come from RuneScape and they split. RuneScape 3 wasn't loved after a certain amount of years and they split to old school RuneScape, but they iterated on old school RuneScape and now it's a really good game. Their modern issues aside, but that's the point. If they keep 6v6, which I think they are based on what they're kind of inferring here, really take a deeper look at that balance and make sure that's fun to tie people over, 2 leaderboards to grind for, and sets of hero bans for both, to be honest with you. Rival showed us that hero bans is good to help get rid of heroes that people don't want to play against. There's going to be heroes that are unfun to play with and against despite win rates. Like Blizzard can be like, hey, Orisa and Mauga aren't even like performing that well. But at the end of the day, like, are people enjoying playing it? And then hero bans will kind of let them kind of be like, hey, we're just gonna ban these because like it's just not fun. The 66, they did blanket adjustments because right now it's an experiment. So like I'm giving them a pass. I'm just saying for the future, when this becomes and hopefully becomes a real rule, game mode, which they should do, and what seems like what they're implying, they really need to nail the balance on it as best as they can for patch number 1. I'm going to give them a bit of a pass. It's going to take a lot to kind of figure out where to tune things perfectly, but some things, I'm sure they have the stats of what was really strong in 222, and hopefully what will be very strong in minimum 1, max 3, and what's really weak, and make some adjustments accordingly. Okay, so that's my thoughts on this. I think this, after playing Rivals, you kind of get an idea of what's actually like a reasonable, good composition. And minimum 1, maximum 3, kind of like covers how many possible team comps. How many iterations can he make? 3 tanks, 1 damage, 2 supports. That's 1 comp. 1 3 2, 1 2 3, 2 1 3, 3 1 2, 2 1 3. It's like 7 reasonable compositions you can make. 3 2 1, and that's pretty good. And if you play enough Rivals recently, you'll find that a lot of people do default to 2 2 2, but 1 3 2 is pretty good. 1 2 3 and 2 1 3 are the most those 4 are like the most common team compositions right now, and they're all kind of good. I like triple support. It's kind of annoying to play against, but I'm a support main in Rival, so I don't mind playing 3 supports. But I've definitely done the 1 3 2 quite a bit, and they're all viable in their own way and not too far off where it feels terrible to play with or against. And this is probably what they should go for. Anyways, that's my thoughts on that. Overwatch Classic Moth meta. Moth meta brings you back to one of the most iconic and chaotic chapters in Overwatch's history. Mercy's legendary Moth gameplay takes the spotlight as her lightning-fast resurrects the redefined team fights, while heroes like DPS Doom and Symmetra with their shield generator make a triumphant return to the battlefield. Step onto beloved maps Oasis, Eichenwald, and Junkertown, where every skirmish is packed with nostalgic strategies and unpredictable mayhem. So the heroes included in this patch are Ana, Sombra, Orisa, Doom. You get Eichenwald, Oasis, Horizon, Lunar Colony, and Junkertown. Hero balance is adjusted for September 2017 hero balance. This will be fun for like 3 days for me, I think. And I think this is where like these classic modes go. I'm a little disappointed that the first classic mode we did last season was 3 weeks, because after week 1, people got kind of bored. I mean, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't know how you guys felt, but when we played that 2016 patch, the chaotic 6 Torbs, we did that whole creator like scrim match between each other. That was a lot of fun for a few days, and then it kind of just died off. And I was hoping every week for those 3 weeks we would have a different like classic patch, and I think that's fine. But the fact that they made it last 3 weeks last time, and then they kind of just like are doing this now, feels like kind of bad timing to me. I feel like the interest of this is not as high. We're in mid-season 14, and obviously you have a big competitor. The elephant in the room is Marvel Rivals, and we know, how it's kind of reshaping the hero shooter genre. So it kind of sucks that this is coming out now. I can't say I like this patch that much because I wasn't a Mercy player. I actually hated this patch because I ended up having to play Mercy back in whatever this was, Season 6, 2017. But she was a little wild if you never lived this. So definitely try it out and just see what it was like. But Yeah. Okay, new mythic weapon, cosmetic, don't really care. Moving on from that. Competitive drives. New drive signature is available from February 11th to February 16th. That's this little purple glowing thingy. I have this from the last season. They go away every season if you don't play during these weeks. It's a retention strategy for to get people to queue ranked near the end of a season. This is like the final few days. And we all know with live service games, people tend to play the game less as they await for the new season and new content to drop. So this is one way to kind of keep the retention, maybe the graph from dipping too low near the end. Small little cosmetic. I mean, it's fine. I think it's okay. I have nothing against it. Players can now earn 6,000 points. So the incentive is to earn the cosmetic, the little like glowing name tag, and to get more competitive points to buy up to 2 Jade or Golden Weapon variants. Now, one thing here with the competitive rewards is that season 14 is the last chance to redeem competitive points for Jade. So apparently Jade weapons after this season are going away, and any of your accumulated competitive points will be converted to legacy points, which can be only redeemed to buy the legacy weapon variant, which is gold. Jade weapons will no longer be available starting in season 15. I'm gonna keep it real, I'm not a fan of that. I think because the season's over, your legacy points should still be able to buy older season cosmetics. I feel like we should still be able to buy Jade next season. The fact that they're vaulting it completely for the new season to have a new, like having a new variant for the new competitive season is fine if we have Sapphire, Ruby, whatever the hell they choose to do. But the fact that they're vaulting it completely forever and your legacy points will only be golden is kind of sad. So I feel like the whole point of legacy should be to buy. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this kind of FOMO, man. So your old points right now, legacy, well right now, so here's mine. Do you guys see my shit right now? I mean, I have all the golden weapons, not the flex, even though I'm totally flexing. I have 2,500 current competitive points, 15,000 legacy points. Basically, this will be added to this. So I'm gonna have, what is that, 18,050 points by next season. And I'll only be able to buy gold. But I can't spend it on anything because I have all the gold weapons in the game. And I can't buy, I only have like 6 Jade weapons. I want to buy more, but I can't. So now it's just like, you're giving me less reason to grind ranked, personally. And I feel like Blizzard should do everything they can to incentivize people to play the game and play ranked. It's just one more box to check off that didn't need to be checked off of things to like annoy me, personally. I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I don't like that decision personally. I'm not very heavily opinionated, but like these are just, it is starting to add up a little bit more for me, right? Do I have Hazard's gold weapon? Yes, I do. I had a lot of leftover points. Obviously, I played, like my circumstances are a little different than the majority. I know this won't affect everybody, but like, you know, I put this game as my job for like 8.5. We're almost approaching 9 years, man. So obviously I built up a lot of points playing a lot of comp over the years. But if you have 1,500 legacy and 1,500 new, you'll be able to buy a gold gun in February. Correct. These are small grievances, like they're starting to add up, but like more importantly, I just want like the game to be fun at its core. And the bigger needle mover for me is at this current time would be the 6v6 mode done right to get and make me grind ranked in that game again. I was reminded of the time I played the game the most was when the game first came out and when the season 9 PvP shakeup came in. The game needs that. We're 9 years in the game. I was reminded that League of Legends, like League has been out for like how many years? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years. I think every year they shake up their items. They change some of their objectives, some of the jungle pathing. Like that's a big like game shake up once a year. And the game needs to do that. Kind of like how season 9, they shook it up with the 250. Like some people don't like it, but I was a big fan of the big HP shakeup and the projectile size changes and all the healing. Like I was a big fan of that because I'm like, this is different. Like maybe I wouldn't have liked it if it wasn't implemented correctly, but like the fact that they tried to swing the bat there was like good for me to keep me interested. Or else I'm playing the same game for 9 years, man. That's it for all the stuff that they're changing besides hero updates. Now to actually talk about hero updates themselves. Ramatra base armor getting increased from 75 to 100. I mean, Ramatra statistically probably not performing too well. Maybe increases his viability. This one's whatever. Winston, they're like buffing some parts of his neutral and nerfing the ultimate to kind of like balance it out. So Tesla cannon ammo going up is going to be kind of nice, and the damage from his poke is going to be really nice, but they're making his primal rage cost 12% more, which kind of offsets this in a sense, because like obviously if you have to reload less often and you're doing more damage as you poke, as a consequence or a byproduct of this, you build your ultimate faster anyways. So this is just kind of like dialing it back to balance that out. I'm surprised they're actually buffing Winston because I feel like he's always been a good hero. I just think Hazard's the outlier, making him less played. But I think Winston's always been like good and well, but you know, that's just me. I don't think this is a huge needle mover, but it's a little nudge. Hazard also getting a small nudge nerf where his violent leap cooldown is increased from 5 to 6 seconds. This feels like not very much, and I think, like, listen, I'll be real. I played maybe like 10 hours of Hazard in custom games with you guys when the season began. I haven't seen him in ranked because obviously I have not touched ranked at all, but you can take one look at the ranked leaderboard under tank, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out Hazard's a problem for the people that are actively playing this game. Like, I think my thing is cut off. The left side is the most played hero, moving to the right side. It's blank and it's cut off. This is a Hazard one trick account. That's Hawk playing Hazard only. Like, clearly there's a pattern here, right? And we look at previous seasons, usually there's like a decent amount of variability. Like this season, season 10, like that's a lot healthier looking what players in the high end are perceiving to be strong. You know what I mean? But clearly Hazard is a problem. It was probably something they could implement really quickly as a quick nerf, but I think they could have swung a little harder to make ranked not miserable for the people that are playing ranked right now. They should have, I think, meaningfully nerfed him a little bit more. So this 5 to 6 seconds, does it even kill any of his DPS rotations? I don't think so. I don't think so. The other changes are fine. I don't really mind these ones so much. Echo, I'm surprised Echo's been underperforming, believe it or not, statistically. So they're actually increasing her damage per second on targets above 50% from 50 to 75. Tracer also getting a buff where the spread is decreased by 15%. So these feel like statistical buffs, but did these really need buffs? These are the heroes. Echo, Tracer are like high skill ceiling heroes that, like, if you're a good player, you play them regardless of, like, this is, I think it's catering too much. Like, I just don't think they needed to buff these two heroes. One more big thing is that I'm pretty sure the focusing beam going above from 50% HP from 50 to 75 doesn't actually affect the below 50% health. It's still 350 damage, right? Or something like that. Because it's very specific. If they wanted to just buff the damaging beam, it would just be, they would just say the DPS gone up, and that would imply that the 4x damage below half health is changed accordingly, but they're specific that it's only above the 50% HP. So, I mean, this is not a crazy buff because a lot of people will mostly use the Echo Beam when they're below half because that's the best time to use it. All right, for supports, I mean, I play a lot of Ana. Obviously, I'm a little biased. They're actually nerfing the Biotic Grenade damage and healing. The healing is actually not that big of a deal for the nerf. It's actually the damage. The damage going down from 90 to 75 changes the offensive breakpoint, which is more important than the defensive healing, in my opinion. Because what does that put you at? Because right now each Ana shot's 70, so it's like 90, 70, 70 is 230. There's a couple of 225 HP heroes in the game. 75 plus 70 plus 70 is only 220, which means if long ranges at 225 HP, like Junos don't die anymore, Lucios don't die anymore. So this is a pretty hefty nerf. I'm not actually sure if Ana's problematic. Again, I haven't actually played much this season, but like I would call this one a pretty significant-ish nerf, more so than what the other ones are. And then Juno. Oh, no, sorry, Illari. Illari's beam going up from 3 to 3.5 seconds. The fact that this heals 120 or 115 HP per second is like an extra 60, 70-ish HP if you hold the beam down onto somebody. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. I don't think people are like, oh my god, like Illari is like a big OP hero, but yeah. Ana is actually the only thing keeping Hazard checks, so we obviously got to stop that. So they nerfed this, but then they slightly nerfed Hazard, but this kind of like offsets it a little bit. If Hazard was enabling and stopping the good Anas were enabling an offensive Hazard and denying a good Hazard defensively. Ana's shot's actually 75, so let's do the math here. My bad. So 75, dude, I'm losing track of all these like tweaks on these numbers. 75 plus 75 plus 75, 225. So you are still killing 225 HP heroes at full then. I mean, that's not bad then. Compared to 90 plus 75 plus 75, which is 240. So it would affect, obviously, if they're 100 HP and never receive a single lick of aura healing, but like if they receive a lick of healing, they'll live. This one is just, I guess, a more guaranteed kill. Like if I shoot the Lucio once and then nade, then shoot them at the same time, his passive aura might kick in just a little bit to offset some of the breakpoints, maybe. Maybe this one's not as big as I thought then, if this does this, if they're at full health and they don't receive any healing. But still, a nerf is a nerf. Juno nerf is actually a pretty big one. The duration of her ultimate decreasing from 10 to 8 seconds. That's quite a bit, and the damage amp being reduced. I mean, Juno's ult was a big game changer. You've noticed that like big ults like Kitsune Rush and Orbital Ray were very meta defining when they came out, and like they had to be toned down. I think this is actually a good direction. Like these ults are way too team fight swingy compared to some of the other ones because it's a whole team buff. If you guys remember launch Kitsune Rush, that shit was insane. It was like 3x cooldown reduction. I think the attack speed was higher. It was a lot. And I think Kitsune Rush now is only like a 2x cooldown reduction and some other nerfs over the last 2 years. But I think this is fine. I still think Juno has her place. She's very slippery and pretty fun. Yeah, a 35% damage buff for in 10 seconds in area you can't die is kind of wild. Very, very wild. So very interesting mid-season patch, but I think this is definitely just like a very temporary patch to tie you over. Could have swung the bat harder, but not my favorite reading this, I will say. I look more forward to just playing the 6v6 mode more than playing the 5v5 mode with this patch and whatever they cook for the PvP refresh next season. It's gonna mark the 1 year mark. I'm gonna skip over the bug fixes, not a big deal. And yeah, that's it for this one. It's Luna's ult, but it's a one where you spam. Oh, 10-second ult. Luna's ultimate is 12 seconds, by the way. I know I'm shitting on Overwatch's balance on this patch, but like now I've been playing Rivals for like a month and a half. Like the balance in that game's also pretty whack. We're just ignoring a lot of it because it's still kind of novel and fun, but like I'm gonna be real. Balance in that game is fucking wild. But hero bans are self-regulating it a little bit for some of the problematic heroes, but yeah.